It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
And welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast as we cover the very latest in property news right across Australia. We do it every morning and, of course, 7 days a week. There are all sorts of ways to hear us, iHeartRadio being one of them, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and also Amazon, just to name a few. Well, a Tuesday morning, so nice to get rid of the Monday. It is March the 12th today. We're certainly well into March, aren't we? And this morning we are going to Sydney to catch up with Ben Horwood. He is the principal of Horwood Nolan. And a very good morning to you, Ben. Welcome to the Real Estate Breakfast this morning.
Same to you. Good morning.
Firstly, exactly where are you in Sydney?
So we're in the inner west of Sydney. So we have 2 offices, one in Concord, one in Drummoyne, sort of right near the Olympic Stadium and along the foreshore of the Parramatta River.
And tell us a little bit about, because you've been involved in the industry for some time. It's been a family business. I think you first started operating in the 70s, you were saying, and then you took over the real estate company from your father. So tell us all about that.
Yeah, so it is sort of a generational business. My dad first started selling real estate around here in the early 70s, in sort of around Burwood and Strathfield, which is right next door to where we are now. And then, I worked in the office when I was a kid. Haven't really ever had any other job than real estate. So when I was about 24, mid-20s, I took the business over from Dad. We sort of took a backward step and semi-retired, which, he is fully retired now. I've been running the business for about 20 years. So the family and our name have been around for a very long time in this particular area.
You're a different breed of real estate agents, and I say that because you grew up, as you said, you grew up with your father owning and operating the business there. It kind of gets into your veins, and then you take over. So it is multi-generational in terms of what you're doing. Tell us a little bit about your team, because you've got 2 offices, as you mentioned.
Yep, so we've got 2 offices, one in Drummoyne, one in Concord, and we've got a sales team that consists of about 6 or 7 salespeople, and we've got about the same in administration and property management. We look after about 500-odd rental properties for our landlords, and we sell, in and around 150 homes every year in the area.
And tell us about the loyal customer base, because, often a lot of people, they want to get involved in these very large selling areas when often if you concentrate on a smaller area, you tag it and you say, that's mine, I'm going to really put in a lot of emphasis into this area. Loyal customer base often can have a bigger swing towards all of that if it's kept smaller rather than bigger. It sounds like that is what you guys are doing where you are.
Yeah, well and truly, we are a family business. We're all about the people and other families and helping them get into their next home or get into their first home or sell their existing, whatever it is that we can do to help. And the multi-generational side of it, I see a lot of it today where I'll be walking around on a Saturday in an open home and someone will come in and say, "Oh, are you Richard's son?" Yes, that's me. And they said, "Oh, how is Dad?" And I said, "Yeah, he's really good." And they said, "Oh, we bought our house off him in, 1987. It's around the corner." I was like, "Oh, wow, that's, So we get a lot of that, and then it might be them coming out to have a look at the property to buy it for their children, because we have a very ingrained culture of around here where a lot of people like to sort of stay in the area once they've been born here. Mum and Dad are still here. Their family's here. They probably went to school here. They want to, put their children into those schools. They want to stay close to Mum and Dad. So we do find that we come across a lot of people that my dad or someone from the team had come across a long time ago, and their family's now looking to start their real estate journey in the area as well. So yeah, it's nice when that happens.
Yeah, it's a bit of a blessing when people don't want to move out of the area, as opposed to somebody where you're in an area where you can't wait to get out of. So it has this sort of waterfall effect if you are where you are, repeat business, coming back to that whole loyalty aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's probably our biggest source of, lead generation or where our business comes from is a better term, is repeat and referral. We get most of our clients, are happy to outwardly refer us to their friends and family after having experiences with us. So we get a lot of business from that. And, I suppose as well, it's a testament to the area that we operate in and why it's become, one of Sydney's more prestige markets now, and the gentrification of it that's happened over the years, because people want to stay here and they're tied to this area because it's such a good place to live.
Yes, and we'll talk about that gentrification in just a moment. We are talking to Ben Horwood. We'll be back after this.
If you're confused about the property market, don't be. Unlock and educate yourself with the latest trending analysis and interviews.
And right now it is time for another 30-second property tip. And we are going to Canberra, this time to Steve Lowe. Good morning, Steve. What have you got for us?
Well, here in Canberra, when you're a seller of a property, it's mandatory that you get an upfront building pest compliance and energy report done. It's really a great thing to have it done upfront as a seller, because then when you get that report, you know what issues there are with your property and you can get those rectified before it hits the market. When we sell in New South Wales, for example, we tend to do the same. And so if you're a seller in other parts of Australia, we recommend that you get the upfront building report done, because then you know what issues there are with your property before it's too late. Once you've found a buyer and then the buyer gets the report done, those issues become problems that the buyer will then negotiate your price down using that report later on. So always get an upfront building report. You can get a special condition written into the contract. The buyer pays for that report at the end of the sale in most cases.
Remember, we are not a real estate company. We are 100% all about increasing your awareness and knowledge for buying and selling properties.
And it is a Real Estate Tuesday, March the 12th today. We're catching up with Ben Horwood, who is the principal of Horwood Nolan. And tell us a little bit about this area, of course, waterfront, foreshore, bit of Sydney prestige where you are. And I think it has sort of transitioned from an area you were saying off air to me where years ago there were factories there. It was seen as not as desirable as some of the obvious choices, but through the gentrification, my goodness, all of that has changed.
My word, it has. A long time ago, the particular area, one of the areas that we operate in Concord and surrounds of Breakfast Point and Mortlake, they all used to be waterfront industry. There was paint factories. They, had all sorts of chemicals that they were dealing with and so forth on these foreshores. And back in the sort of 40s and 50s, it wasn't probably until, the 90s really where they started to redevelop these big industrial sites that were actually sitting on the foreshores of the Parramatta River. So they're all pretty much gone now and have been, transformed into very high-end prestige luxury real estate. Breakfast Point is actually a suburb within our market that never really used to exist. They created a suburb on the old AGL gasworks in Mortlake and called it Breakfast Point. So, and that's now got one of the highest median prices for apartments in the inner west. And, one of the most sought after places, in the inner west for people to downsize, move out of a large home and then move into a really nice luxury apartment overlooking the water.
Yeah, and just talk to that, because I know that you've got a $5 million waterfront property up for sale. Tell us a little bit about the median price where you are and what's happening around the duplex and the triplex developments, because as you say, it has been well and truly developed.
Yep, so that one that you're referring to is in Rhodes as well, which is another small suburb surrounding our key, core or key market, I suppose you would say, which also was a very much an industrial area. But these ones are houses along the foreshore that were close to the industrial areas a long time ago and never used to be considered to be prestige, but now they well and truly are. So a few years ago, they did change the local environment plan through the City of Canada Bay to allow more duplexes in, which means that the bigger and wider blocks do qualify for duplex and some even triplex developments. So this one on the waterfront there definitely qualifies for those duplexes and triplexes. and is a very interesting property that we'll probably tend to find, again, a lot of the people that are interested in that are either developers and families who are looking to buy a big, nice, prestige parcel of land, ideally on the water, build 2 duplexes and live side by side generationally.
Yeah, okay. So, and what about buyers? They're always coming internationally for these prestige properties. So you've no doubt got the Chinese, you've got other multinationals coming in. So migration is still sort of playing that card where you're seeing different nationalities?
Absolutely, and particularly of late, we had a very new wave of Asian clients coming into the marketplace that are looking to secure high-end properties. They've got big budgets. They want the good stuff. They like it either ready to be developed or brand new. Not a lot in between. We are very much a multicultural melting pot here in this marketplace. We see a lot of clients from all different backgrounds, all different walks of life. And I think, again, it's what makes the authenticity and inclusiveness of this area so attractive to people, is that there's a little bit of culture here for everyone. Traditionally, it had a very strong undercurrent of Italian culture in a lot of the areas as well, a lot of Italian migrants early on. So our cafes and restaurants and the food around here is exceptional. And as well, if you like your Asian food and Chinese and dumplings and so forth like that, there's some of the best in Sydney in this area, because there's so many different diverse ranges of people from different backgrounds that all of their food and culture and so forth is here in spades, and it's just such a great place to live.
Well, it certainly sounds like you're keeping things very authentic, especially around that backstory starting off in the 70s with your dad taking over in your 20s. Keeping it real, I would say, and the melting pot right in the middle of all of that. People are coming in to buy those prestige properties. Hey, great to catch up with you this morning, Ben. Enjoy your Tuesday, and thanks so much for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast this morning.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Remember to follow us on any of the podcast platforms so you never miss a real estate podcast. You can follow us on Apple, Spotify and Amazon. Know your property with us.
Yeah, and if you look at last year, I think that it sort of swung a little bit, didn't it, towards the buyers. They had a little bit of wiggle room. They were able to put some terms and conditions into some contracts, but I think we're sort of past that point now, haven't we?
I think about June last year was the turning point for my specific market in City Beach, at least, where we saw the pendulum swing from being in favour of buyers, where it had been for over a decade, to really in favour of sellers. And the suburb of City Beach and also wider Perth on a national scale are probably playing catch up with the East Coast, whose markets have run and doubled or even tripled in cases over the last 15 years, while we've remained stagnant. So we're currently in a really serious state of flux in the market and trying to discover where it all ends, but it's quite an exciting time over here at the moment.
Don't navigate the real estate market alone. Let us help guide you in the world of real estate every day. Make better informed decisions with the latest news and insights. We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.